Hello, good morning. Another morning in Tenerife. Today, um, a topic that I used to think about a lot, or that used to cross my mind was that, and I think I used to use this as an excuse for not going vegan. I used to think, okay, so if I didn't eat meat and dairy and cheese and milk and all the rest of it, then the animals that were eventually killed to produce the meat and dairy and everything wouldn't exist. So I use this as an excuse, the excuse being by actually eating them, I give them a life. And I also used to wonder if everybody went vegan, what would happen to all the animals? So let's start with that one. I mean, the idea that the world is going to go vegan overnight is a silly one because it's definitely not going to happen. It's obviously going to be a slow process over many years. And if you think about the reason that animals are bred into existence is so that we can eat them. So that's clear. So farmers only breed animals because there is a demand from people for these animal products. So if people stopped buying meat and dairy, then there would be no need to breed the animals into existence. And obviously, all these animals wouldn't exist. But this will be a very gradual process. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Oh my God, everybody's gone vegan. What am I going to do with all these animals? No, that's unfortunately that's not going to happen. So it will be a gradual process, and bit by bit, the farmers will need to breed fewer and fewer animals, and eventually will end up in a very nice place. And what about the other idea that these animals wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us actually eating them? Well, a friend of mine last year told me this was the reason that he also justified eating animals because they wouldn't otherwise exist. Um, and I mean, there is some truth in that. I mean, if there was no demand for animal products, these animals wouldn't exist. But I think it's important to point out that first of all, these animals are raised that well, they're not natural animals anyway. So a dairy cow, a hen, an egg-laying hen, the chickens that we eat, all of these animals are domesticated animals. They're not natural. If we were to let them out into the wild, these animals probably wouldn't survive. They don't have the ability to survive because they're just not natural animals. So they would be completely reliant on us for their survival. Did you know, by the way, that a dairy cow, the manifestation of a dairy cow that we managed to create, the Frankenstein cow that we've created, now produces 10 times more milk than the cow would in the natural world. And a hen, one of these the hens that we've created, can now produce up to 300 eggs per year, whereas a normal hen would lay between 20 and 30. So you can see these animals are not natural animals. And as the world goes vegan, as we step by step move towards a plant-based diet, what will happen is more and more land will become available because a lot more land is needed to grow the crops to feed the animals. So as the world moves to a plant-based diet, we will need less land to farm because we won't need to produce as many crops, because the crops that we are now producing, a large amount of those crops are simply fed to animals, which we then in turn eat. And that's a really inefficient way, I found out, of getting protein and nutrition. So instead of feeding all these animals, we would to obviously grow crops to feed ourselves, but there'd be a lot of land left over. And what could happen then is that this land could then, over time, we could reforest it. We could bring it back to its natural state. So, like I say, in the UK, that would probably mean the growth of trees, grasslands, natural habitat that it used to be. And as this natural habitat then started to become part of the landscape, and how nice that would be, just, oh, nice woods and forests, all the natural animals, the wild animals that have been driven out to make farmland could be reintroduced, and we could have the sound of birds again. We could have little animals scurrying around in the forest and everything. And these are natural animals. These are the animals that were meant to be there. And so if we stop breeding these farm animals and reintroduced forests and grasslands and so on, we would actually be creating life, but in a far more natural way. Lots of animals, insects, birds, all of these animals that have disappeared could come back. And I think that would be a far, far better place for us, for the environment, for the animals. I think we would then, by doing that, we would have definitely turned a really important corner in our evolution, because it would be the first time, or not the first time maybe, but if you think we've been taking and more production, more efficiency, more animals, more meat, and if we could turn this corner and say, well, we're going to now start returning back a little bit to how it was. We're going to grow crops for humans, but we're not going to grow crops for animals, and we're going to reintroduce all these natural animals. I think that's a really important step for humankind, and I hope we get there. I really do. So yeah, that ends this. It was a point I wanted to mention. It's sometimes brought up in conversation, and I know it's something that I used to think about. So I hope you feel better now and more confident and able to say, yep, that's another reason battered away, and we can now start looking forward to going vegan. Thank you. See you tomorrow.